You ever wonder if a .22 long rifle round could actually drop someone fast enough to save your life? Most people laugh it off until they see what some of these new loads are doing in real-world tests. In 2025, the tiniest bullet in your collection might be the most underestimated threat on the shelf. So let's break it down. Here are the deadliest .22 long rifle loads you can actually buy in 2025, ranked by ballistic gel test, carry reliability, and real-world threat stopping potential. Let's begin. Number 1, Federal Punch 29 grain solid. If you're carrying a .22 long rifle pistol and your life depends on that first trigger pull, this is the load you want in the chamber. The Federal Punch was never meant for plinking or casual range days. It was engineered from the primer up for deep, straight-line penetration in the compact pistols people actually carry. This round throws a 29-grain flat-nose projectile at blistering speed, optimized specifically for short barrels like the Ruger LCP-2 Light Rack or Taurus TX-22 Compact. It doesn't waste energy trying to expand or fragment. Instead, it acts like a micro-freight train, boring through layers of denim, leather, and even light bone with minimal deviation. In recent gel tests, even from barrels under 3 inches, Punch consistently punches 12 to 14 inches deep. Reliability, it's top tier. Nickel-plated brass, clean burning powder, and a primer sensitive enough to fire even in some guns notorious for light rimfire strikes. It feeds without complaint and fires with brutal consistency. Forget gimmicks. This isn't the round you buy because it looks cool in an ad. It's the one you carry when you want no surprises, just results. Federal Punch doesn't yell, it hits, and it keeps hitting until the threat is done. Number 2, CCI Velocitor 40-grain hollow point. This one doesn't scream for attention, but it earns its spot with raw performance. The CCI Velocitor is the workhorse of heavy-hitting rimfire loads, pairing deep penetration with clean expansion and a reputation for rock-solid reliability. It's not just trying to be flashy, it's trying to win. Velocitor sends a 40-grain copper-plated hollow point downrange at roughly 1,435 feet per second from a rifle, but the real magic happens in handguns with barrels over 4 inches like the TX-22 or Glock 44, where it consistently hits 12 to 13 inches of gel penetration while still opening up with a wide, clean mushroom. Unlike some .22 long rifle rounds that get moody in semi-autos, Velocitor cycles smoothly across a wide range of platforms, from revolvers to carbines. It burns clean, feeds well, and doesn't quit if your gun gets a little dirty. It's not a boutique round with a tactical name. It's a factory-built freight train that shows up, does the job, and leaves no mess behind. You want something heavier than a Stinger but faster than most 40-grain loads? This is your middle ground. Tactical without trying to be. Lethal without needing to prove it. CCI Velocitor is the round that makes sure the job gets finished. Number 3, Winchester Silvertip 37-grain segmented hollow point. The Winchester Silvertip doesn't aim to expand like your classic mushrooming rounds. Instead, it fragments on impact, tearing through soft tissue and spreading chaos across multiple wound channels. The 37-grain segmenting projectile is designed to break apart into 3 sharp spinning blades once it hits soft targets. That fragmentation creates 3 distinct wound tracks, increasing the chance of hitting something vital fast. In 2025 gel tests using common carry pistols like the Walther P22 and Glock 44, Silvertip typically penetrated around 9 to 11 inches. Not the deepest on this list, but one of the nastiest in terms of tissue disruption. And it's not picky. This round runs surprisingly well in modern semi-autos and longer-barreled pistols. Carbines like the Ruger 1022, it feeds like butter. Short barrels under 3 inches, Results vary. Some pocket pistols won't place nice, so test it thoroughly before you carry. What makes Silvertip deadly isn't brute force, it's what it does after impact. Think of it as a mini frag grenade in a nickel-plated case. Clean burning, accurate, and engineered for mayhem. If your gun runs it and you're looking for something with a bit more chaos than control, the Silvertip delivers. It's surgical destruction with rimfire precision, and it absolutely earns its place in your mag. Number 4. Aguila Interceptor 40 grain solid point. Here's the underdog that punches way above its weight. The Aguila Interceptor isn't shiny, it isn't trendy, but it absolutely moves like it has something to prove. This round sends a 40 grain solid projectile flying at around 1,470 feet per second, which is wild considering its weight class. This speed, combined with its solid design, gives it deep penetration that consistently surprises people. This isn't some fancy jacketed hollow point that tries to do a little of everything. The Interceptor goes old school, a solid lead bullet that bores through barriers and keeps going. In recent tests with the Ruger LCP-2, Life Rack, and the Glock 44, it hit up to 13 inches in gel with no drama, no deflection, and no signs of slowing down. It's not flashy, but it works, and that's what matters when you're betting your life on each shot. It's also one of the most reliable rounds for finicky .22 long rifle pistols. Clean ignition, low fouling, and consistent cycling, even in semi-autos that usually choke on bulk ammo. It feeds well, burns hot, and leaves your chamber cleaner than you'd expect. So, why isn't it higher on the list? No expansion. That's the trade-off. But for those who prioritize straight-line penetration over wound cavity flare, the Interceptor is a brutal, no-nonsense option. If you're the type who values performance over packaging, Aguila Interceptor deserves a spot in your mag. Number 5. Winchester Super-X 40 grain power point. The Winchester Super-X power point isn't marketed as some cutting-edge defensive load. It doesn't have tactical packaging or edgy names, but when you break it down by what actually matters in a fight, it's a sleeper hit. The 40 grain power point is a semi-jacketed hollow point that travels at about 1,280 feet per second from a standard length pistol barrel. That puts it in the ideal velocity range for consistent, reliable expansion without over-penetrating. In gel tests across the board, including tests with common carry pistols like the Taurus TX-22 and Ruger SR-22, it delivered right between 10 and 12 inches of penetration with a beautiful, consistent mushroom. But this round's biggest strength? It runs clean. The Super-X line has long been known for its dependable ignition and smooth feeding. Especially important if your carry gun is one of those picky rimfires that likes to jam on anything bulk packaged. The brass is polished, the burn is clean, and the accuracy is shockingly good, even at defensive distances. Where it falls short is speed. It's not as fast as the Interceptor or as aggressive as the Velocitor, and it doesn't fragment like Silvertip. But not every fight needs fireworks. Sometimes you need a round that delivers balanced, repeatable performance without drawing attention to itself. Winchester Super-X power point isn't sexy, but it's serious, and for many shooters, that quiet confidence is exactly what earns it a permanent spot in the carry rotation. Number 6. Norma Eco Power 22. Now, if you're the type who wants performance without compromise, not just in accuracy or speed, but in environmental responsibility too, then Norma Eco Power 22 is your dark horse pick. This bad boy fires a 24 grain lead-free bullet made of copper polymer matrix, and it clocks in at a jaw-dropping 1,700 feet per second. That puts it in the hyper-velocity category, and it absolutely shreds soft targets on impact. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of trying to expand or drill deep, the round fragments violently, breaking apart into multiple shards that tear through tissue without risking over-penetration. That kind of energy dump makes it a great choice for small game or pest control, especially environments like barns, sheds, or backyards where ricochets or pass-throughs could be dangerous. You're getting maximum energy transfer with minimal risk to anything behind the target. But the benefits go further. The copper polymer construction reduces fouling, keeping your barrel cleaner and your cycling smoother, especially in semi-autos. Plus, it's lead-free, making it a smart choice for indoor ranges, eco-conscious shooters, or areas with restrictions on traditional ammunition. In terms of gel performance, it penetrates around 8 to 10 inches before fragmenting. Not ideal for deep defense, but devastating for quick, shallow stops or small body zones. And thanks to Norma's famously tight manufacturing standards, shot-to-shot consistency is excellent. In all, the ECO Power 22 is purpose-built, high-velocity disintegrator that turns your 22 into a surgical strike tool, especially when you care about what you hit and what you don't. Number 7, Remington Yellow Jacket 33 grain truncated hollow point. The Remington Yellow Jacket doesn't sneak in quietly. It rips in fast and loud. With its distinctive truncated cone hollow point and blazing velocity, this round has become infamous for turning .22 long rifle into something that feels way more serious than it looks. We're talking about a 33-grain bullet screaming out of the barrel at 1,500 feet per second. That puts it right up there with the fastest commercially available rimfire ammo. But it's not just about speed. The truncated tip is a design made to transfer energy fast, tumbling and fragmenting aggressively in soft tissue. In real-world gel tests, Yellow Jacket regularly penetrates 10 to 11 inches, depending on barrel length, and it expands with nasty, sharp edges that cut wide. It's a round built for instant energy dump, making it devastating on varmints, pests, and close-range threats that need to go down now, not later. But despite its aggressive nose and high velocity, it usually feeds reliably in semi-autos, a rare feat for rounds with flat or pointed tips. That said, some picky guns might need a polished feed ramp to handle it smoothly. Once you're dialed in, though, it's a flame-throwing monster in disguise. And the best part, it's still affordable and easy to find. While boutique ammo brands are fighting for space with gimmicks, the Yellow Jacket keeps delivering serious performance without flashy marketing. In 2025, it's still one of the most underrated killers in the rimfire world. Rugged, reliable, and way meaner than it looks, this bullet lives up to its name, angry, fast, and ready to sting. Number 9, Eley Force 42 grain high-velocity solid. Eley is usually the name you hear in Olympic circles or precision shooting competitions, not defensive carry talk, but don't let that reputation fool you. The Eley Force round is one of the heaviest hitting, hardest driving .22 long rifle load you can chamber in 2025. This round launches a 42-grain solid projectile at around 1,250 feet per second, which doesn't sound blazing compared to others on this list until you realize how heavy that is for .22 long rifle. That extra weight carries energy farther downrange and punches deeper into gel, especially through barriers like thick clothing, leather, or soft bone. In recent ballistic tests with semi-auto pistols and compact carbines, the Eley Force consistently hit 13 to 14 inches of penetration. That makes it one of the deepest driving, non-expanding rimfire rounds out there. The Eley's engineering is world-class. The rimfire ignition is consistent even in guns notorious for light primer strikes. The brass is tight, the powder burns clean, and the recoil impulse is smooth and predictable. Now, it won't fragment or mushroom, and it doesn't leave Swiss cheese damage like the Silvertip. But it does what some shooters love most. It goes deep every single time. For fans of straight-line penetration and serious weight retention, Eley Force is the heavy hitter you carry when failure is not an option. Call it the sledgehammer of .22 long rifle. It may be slow, but it's got the kind of thump that speaks for itself. Number 9, SK High Velocity Match 40 grain solid. SK is one of those brands that flies under the radar, especially for American shooters who usually associate .22 long rifle with big names like CCI, Federal, or Winchester. But in 2025, SK's high-velocity match load is quietly making noise with shooters who demand both precision and punch in one round. This round fires a 40-grain solid lead projectile at around 1,260 feet per second, which puts it in the upper tier of standard velocity rimfire. But with one key difference: consistency. SK is a match-grade manufacturer based out of Germany, and their rounds are known for extreme quality control. That means minimal velocity deviation, cleaner burn, and tighter groups, all of which matter when your target isn't paper but a threat that moves. In gel test, the XK High Velocity, the SK High Velocity Match consistently delivers 12 to 13 inches of penetration, even from compact pistols like the TX-22 or Glock 44. It doesn't expand and it doesn't fragment, but it hits hard, straight, and repeatedly. Exactly what you want in a shot that needs to count. Now, what sets this load apart isn't gimmicks or terminal performance tricks. It's accuracy under pressure. If your life ever depends on a well-placed headshot or an urgent follow-up that must stay on target, SK's ultra-consistent manufacturing gives you a serious edge. Reliability? Very solid, although not quite as robust in dirty guns as some of the American defensive loads, but for clean carry pistols or well-maintained carbines, this stuff cycles beautifully and shoots like a laser. The SK high-velocity match round is the sniper's choice in the rimfire world. When it comes down to where that first round lands, few loads deliver tighter confidence. Quiet, clean, and surgically precise. This one earns its place by putting shots exactly where they belong. Number 10, CCI Mini-Mag 36-grain hollow point. If there's one .22 long rifle round that's been a household name for decades, it's the CCI Mini-Mag. And in 2025, it still holds up, not because of flashy marketing or niche gimmicks, because it's proven time and again that it works when you need it to. The Mini-Mag hollow point fires a 36-grain copper-plated projectile at around 1,260 feet per second. That's not blistering speed, but it's perfectly tuned for reliable expansion without sacrificing feeding or ignition. In gel test, it routinely reached 10 to 12 inches of penetration, often with decent mushrooming, even from shorter barrels like the Ruger SR-22 or Walther P-22. But the real killer feature of the Mini-Mag: functionality. If your .22 pistol is picky, dirty, or both, this is the round most likely to still go bang every single time. It feeds cleanly, cycles with ease, and burns with minimal residue. That's why so many trainers, ranchers, and carry users default to Mini-Mags when it really matters. Sure, it doesn't segment like a Silvertip or hit hypervelocity like an Interceptor, but it delivers repeatable performance even under stress. It's also widely available, reasonably priced, and still made to tight tolerances by CCI, a brand known for their rimfire reliability. In 2025, the Mini-Mag has become the default defensive load for anyone who wants no surprises, no dramatic fragmentation, no exotic metal blends, just a solid hollow point that feeds and fires when it counts. It may not be the flashiest contender in your mag, but for real-world reliability under pressure, the Mini-Mag still earns its stripes. Rugged, proven, and always ready. It's the round that lets your .22 work like it means it. Number 11, Aguila Super Maximum 30-grain solid point. You want speed? Aguila's Super Maximum is the fastest .22 long rifle round you can buy in 2025, clocking in at a staggering 1,700 feet per second out of a rifle and still breaking 1,400 FPS in most pistols. This little 30-grain solid point is all about kinetic energy. It's Aguila's answer to the age-old question, how fast can you push a rimfire round before it turns into a firecracker? Unlike some lightweight screamers that sacrifice stability for speed, the Super Maximum stays accurate out to practical distances. In ballistic gel test, it regularly penetrates 11 to 13 inches, depending on barrel length, and maintains a narrow, focused wound path due to its non-expanding, flat-nosed design. Its real strength? Devastating velocity transfer. That extra speed delivers enough hydrostatic shock to rattle small game targets and soft tissue, even without expansion. And in pocket pistols that usually choke on bulk ammo, this round still cycles surprisingly well thanks to its high-pressure load and slick brass coating. That said, it's not perfect. The high velocity can cause increased fouling, and in ultralight pistols, recoil and blast might feel a bit snappier than expected. Plus, the lack of a hollow point means you're betting everything on a straight-line punch rather than wound channel width. But if you're after a round that hits hard, cycles fast, and leaves no energy on the table, Aguila's Super Maximum is your sleeper pick. It's a hyperspeed powerhouse that doesn't need gimmicks to do real damage, and it's one of the few .22 long rifle rounds that truly earns the Super in its name. Number 12, Fiocchi Hyperformance 40-grain CPHP. Fiocchi isn't always the first name that comes up in rimfire discussions, but in 2025 their high-performance line has quietly carved out a spot for shooters who demand both power and polish in their .22 long rifle carry loads. The 40-grain copper-plated hollow point isn't breaking any speed records. It clocks in at around 1,250 feet per second. But what it does do is offer one of the most balanced combinations of penetration, expansion, and reliability on the market. In ballistic gel tests, high performance consistently reaches 11 to 12 inches of penetration while still delivering a clean, uniform mushroom, even from compact pistols. Its copper-plated jacket helps reduce fouling in semi-autos, giving you smoother cycling and cleaner follow-up shots. That jacket also gives it a slide edge and feeding reliability compared to unplated hollow points, a big deal in rimfire platforms known for being finicky under stress. Where Fiocchi really earns its place is consistency. The ignition is crisp, the powder burns clean, and accuracy is shockingly tight for a defensive-grade round. For shooters who prefer a hollow point that behaves more like a miniaturized centerfire load, this round hits the sweet spot. But buying the Deadliest round only matters if it fits your setup. Barrel length, reliability, and shot placement still win fights. So test them, train with them, and carry the one that performs when everything's on the line. If this breakdown helped, watch this video here next for more no-nonsense ammo rundowns and gear guides.